well-being of the citizens of HRM, and in fact as a jewel for the entire province. And these lands should be protected under the Wilderness Protection Act. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Member. We'll now recognize the Honourable Minister of Service, Nova Scotia and Municipal Relations.
Mr. Speaker, I'll be sharing my time with the Minister of Transportation. I want to start out by referring back to what the last member had just said, the member from Clayton Park. Imagine what our city would look like without Point Pleasant Park and without McNabb's Island. What I would say, imagine what our city would be like without Bicentennial Highway and the Burnside Bypass and Dunbrack Street. It's exactly the same thing. Our city would be in chaos. We wouldn't be able to get people to their jobs. And I think the kind of planning that went into allowing for the development of those major thoroughfares were foresight. And what the member opposite said in her very last remarks about the fact that the previous government wasn't in a position or didn't take the position to think ahead and do some foresight and plan for that particular highway, they lost the opportunity. The Minister of Transportation is simply allowing for an opportunity to happen in the future if one is necessary. I must say, though, depending on where you sit, or in this case where you live, depends on how you look at something. And I think it's absolutely disrespectful that members would dismiss the concerns, the people that I represent, around traffic and safety. The people that I represent talk to me every single day about traffic and safety, not just in Hammonds Plains, but in Sackville as well. And we've lost many great opportunities to help alleviate some of those traffic and safety concerns by securing these right-of-ways. The member opposite talks about simple solutions like widening the Hammonds Plains Road. She obviously hasn't driven down the Hammonds Plains Road or doesn't know it very well, because if she did, she would know that the Hammonds Plains Road is flanked side by side with houses and churches and business and graveyards. In fact, there are areas where the Hammonds Plains Road, where the road right-of-way is no wider than the actual asphalt surface. And if she represented that area, she'd know that. The people who live in that area know that, and they talk to me each and every day. Mr. Speaker, on Wednesday night, I attended a meeting in my community with the RCMP about traffic and about RCMP issues in our community. The number one issue raised at that meeting was traffic and transportation. The people in my community have expressed to me on both sides of this issue. Some have said they think the road is unnecessary, but many, many, many more have said this road is absolutely necessary, and they look forward to the government preserving that right-of-way. The minister has said in the past it's about preserving that right-of-way in the event that the road is necessary in the future. And I commend that minister and his department for doing that. Imagine again if we didn't have the Bicentennial Highway. Imagine again if we didn't have the Magazine Hill or the Magazine Bypass, as we call it. How would the people of Hammonds Plains, of Sackville, of St. Margaret's Bay, how would the people west of the city find their way to the city for work? Well, they wouldn't, Mr. Speaker. They wouldn't be able to do it because there'd be no roads to get them there. I can tell you that the roads and traffic and transportation are the single biggest issue that I face as an MLA. Others would throw out the idea of enhancing the Metro Transit as a way of resolving the issue. It sounds good. It sounds really good. But when you represent an area where the lots are an acre to an acre and a half, what you find is that it's unworkable. People don't want to walk 5 kilometers to get a bus. In fact, what they'll do is they'll drive. That creates traffic, and traffic needs roads. This is what we're talking about. Park and ride, it's a great idea, but to get to the park and ride parking lot, you have to drive on roads, and this is what we're talking about. We don't live in a perfect world. There are no perfect solutions, but I think the idea of protecting and preserving the right-of-way in the event that it's necessary is the right approach, and I commend the Minister of Transportation for at least having the foresight that the Liberals didn't have when they were in government, because they could have built this road in a more appropriate place, but they chose not to.
Thank you, Minister. We'll recognize the Honourable Minister of Transportation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I certainly welcome the opportunity this evening to talk about Highway 313, because obviously it's the... Pardon? What? Sorry, did I say 313? I was thinking 303, but anyway, 113, because, Mr. Speaker, there's been a considerable amount of talk about Highway 113, which has no semblance to the facts as to why we are preserving a corridor that connects Highway 103 with Highway 102. Mr. Speaker, the good transit, good movement of traffic, whether it be commercial or passenger traffic, is dependent on good planning. And I think it's very evident that unless we have good traffic planning years ahead of when the traffic actually comes into being, we're going to have chaos. Last evening, Mr. Speaker, I left the House early. I left around about 4 o'clock because I had to attend a meeting in my riding at about 10 after 5 for a 5:15 meeting. And no, that would be right within the speed limits on the highway and out of the city. But anyway, Mr. Speaker, when I came off the McDonald Bridge, it was 4:15. By the time I got to the foot of Magazine Hill, it was 5:15. And that happened, Mr. Speaker, because when we put in Burnside Park, we didn't do the planning for the traffic that was going to be generated there. All traffic today moves primarily by road, particularly in Nova Scotia. Most of our commercial traffic moves by road. We must have adequate highways. That is why our 100 series system is so important, and why we spend so much of our transportation budget on the 100 series highways. People say, well, why don't you look after secondary roads? Well, we will look after secondary roads, but we have to protect that highway, that 100 series highways, Mr. Speaker, because they are the backbone of our export and import trade in and out of this province. The 113 is not a highway. It may never be a highway, but we would be remiss, the department would be remiss, the minister would be remiss, Halifax Regional Municipality would be remiss if they didn't say someday perhaps we are going to require a tie-in between the 103 and 102 that is direct to get the traffic off the Hammonds Plain Road or else proceeding down through the city itself. That is what we're doing. We are protecting a corridor. Maybe the corridor is being protected for joggers. Maybe it's being protected as a long but narrow park. It doesn't matter. We would be remiss if we didn't reserve that piece of land. If you think we're going to build that highway, I can tell you it's so far down on any priority list that I've ever seen to be completely non-existent because we don't have the money. It's going to cost, the honourable member said that it was a $30 million highway that has escalated to $50 million. By the time we get to build that highway, Mr. Speaker, it's probably going to be a $100 million highway. We don't have the money, but however, we have to protect that corridor because perhaps sometime in the future, either the province or HRM will want that as a transit route, Mr. Speaker, or perhaps the people will want to retain that area in the middle of what is rapidly becoming a huge subdivision, had to have a corridor through there that is green space. I think we're doing the right thing. I can tell the honourable member, both honourable members opposite, who are much younger than I am, when they get to be my age, that highway will still be just a dream off in the future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Minister. I guess the time for debate has expired. Thank you to all the members who have participated. And the House will meet again tomorrow at 9 a.m.